What's up, folks? It's Dr. Raven LeBeau, and I'm coming at you once again from the X Lair to provide you my thoughts on Twin Peaks, the revival, also known as Season 3 of Twin Peaks, Episode 9. So, last week, obviously, we had the Mindfuck episode, which was amazing. Well, not last week, it's been 2 weeks. David Lynch was generous enough to give us 2 weeks to let this whole, whatever you want to call it, like origin story, cinematic masterpiece, just surreal, brain candy. This last episode, it gave us some time to kind of like let it settle, and it did. And what I expected this week was what we got, which was like a return to normalcy, but with a Twin Peaks slash David Lynch edge, because it certainly was there. But it wasn't as a hard of an edge as we got last time with the Mindfuck episode, which I loved. I just want to specify that. But a great episode overall. Like, continued like the story threads that we've been following since the first few episodes. We got a little bit more insight into things, but also not really. Information was revealed, but it's ambiguous. Obviously, what the information means. What is the like what who established like the Dougie Cooper, because obviously like it was mentioned in the show, like he didn't exist before 1997 or something. So who established him in that world, in that life? How does the bad Cooper know about him, and why does he want? Well, I guess we know why he wants him to die, because I think it was told by the one-armed man to Dougie Cooper that only one of them can live, and in order for the one to live, the other needs to die or something. So maybe that. I mean, obviously that's what the Dark Cooper, the evil Cooper, is doing, in trying to rub him out by maybe killing him, he gets to exist. I don't know. It's unclear, but there's a lot that is unclear. But we got a little bit more information. We kind of know where things are going. I just first want to really appreciate the fact that we had a scene at the beginning of the show with Kyle MacLachlan as Bad Cooper, Tim Roth, and Jennifer Jason Leigh. I mean, the kind of talent the show has attracted is the highest caliber. It's a lot of these people are like Quentin Tarantino actors, so it's really great that like even the guy that plays the new Sheriff Truman, like he's also, I forgot his name, Robert something. He was in the movie that Quentin Tarantino made after Pulp Fiction. Anyway, he was in that one, and anyway. I'm seeing like a Tarantino like influence on things. There was a mention of a Jack Rabbit something in the show, which it turned out was some place that Bobby knew from his childhood that he called Jack Rabbit, but that's not the actual name. But that's what his father knew that he would know the place by. Anyway, Jack Rabbit. That's a reference to Jack Rabbit Slims in Pulp Fiction, is it not? I think. I don't know. I think David Lynch is just kind of throwing random things out there because that's what he does, man. He's just like mixed bag of randomness executed in the most precise way possible. Like random shit, but here, let me present it to you as perfectly as possible. So like, there are threads, but maybe not. That's art, man. That is straight art. Like, here's some stuff I'm doing. Maybe there's a purpose, maybe there isn't. Interpret it how you will, and there are many ways to interpret it. But there may also just be a very clear-cut way to interpret it as well. Which, anyway, that's ultimately the effect of all David Lynch's stuff, and that's why I love David Lynch for that reason. and that's why I love this show. It's such a good show. Anyway, had that great quality scene at the beginning with those three amazing actors. And then we kind of, and then of course we got some more Diane, and I finally remembered her name, Laura Dern. I'm so glad that she's still in this. Like, such a great character, man. Such a great character. And her interactions with David Lynch, that scene where it was just like them and the new female FBI agent, just hanging out while Laura Dern is smoking. That scene, and like where there was really no dialogue for at least a minute, and it was just like them staring at each other. It was special, man. That was a special little scene. It was so genuine, you know? It was such a genuine scene. Like, it's such a legitimate, like, representation of, like, the commonplace banality of life within the context of, like, this weird fucking story that's being told, you know? It's just another kind of characteristic of, like, David Lynch's, like, masterful use of the form, not just in visual representations and his playing with the form of film, the formal elements, like, you know, the cinematography, the composition of the shots, but also playing with sort of like juxtaposition of shots where it's like, here's some random shit and then here's some pivotal shit. This pivotal shit has linear structure and all kind of goes somewhere. This other scene is meant to just give you atmosphere and presence within the world, just kind of anchor you in it, where it's like you're just having a moment of normalcy where people are like just hanging out. Someone's smoking, maybe there's like some discomfort amongst them, some awkward sort of feelings, but you know, like they have to be together because that's generally the case in professional settings. People that don't necessarily like each other have to hang out, and it's not necessarily comfortable, but you try to make it pleasant, and you'll have like these kind of weird, awkward silence moments if you've been working with someone for a while, and it's kind of like a love-hate thing. It was so genuine. I can go on and on about just that one scene, but that anyway. Stuff happened in the episode. Definitely basically nothing except for Cooper showing up at the beginning, reference like the stuff we saw in the last episode. But we finally did get some other stuff. We got more of an explanation of the body that was found in the first episode with the head of the girl. Like, now we know that it's like, okay, that's definitely Major Briggs, which is Bobby Briggs's father. Bobby being the deputy who was Laura's ex-boyfriend, or Laura's boyfriend at the time she was killed. So now we know like a little bit more. Like, I remember towards the end of the second season, there was, at some point in the second season, I believe, Major Briggs told Agent Cooper that well, like, he showed him a printout and it was like numbers, and then at some point you saw his name, Cooper, and he said that this was like a SETI type of a printout. SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Life. Some satellite picked it up, so purportedly it was coming from outer space, and his name was found in there a couple of times, and now we kind of see that reference again with that note that was taken out of that silver vial thing, that you know, the sheriff, Hawk, and Bobby found and opened, with Bobby's mom, who revealed it. There's a lot of really interesting stuff. Anyway, like, we saw that reference again. Obviously, we're going to get a little bit more insight into it. There's the whole adventure going on in the Twin Peaks town with these cops. But then you also have like that random scene of like Laura Flynn Boyle's uncle, like that, the old dude with the beanie, wrestling with his foot. I mean, that was some fucking weird shit, and I loved it. It was so random. It was in the middle of the episode. It didn't belong, but it did because it's Twin Peaks and it's David Lynch, and he can do whatever the fuck he wants, and I love it. And then you had that actually. There was stuff in that kind of pocket of Twin Peaks that was just weird, random because you had that scene, and then you had the lodge, and you had the Laura Flynn Boyle, not Laura Flynn Boyle, Sherilyn Finn's father, who owns the lodge, and the Judd, Naomi Judd, I think her name is. Anyway, Ashley Judd, and they were just having their weird kind of romantic moment, but totally arbitrary and totally kind of odd within like the context of what we're seeing. But that's what makes the show so great. It's just like, what, like it's all about that. It's just like kind of like shocking you and playing with your expectations and just kind of giving you shit that you just completely don't expect and maybe don't even understand. But that's what the show is. That's the style of David Lynch, and it works because it's captivating if you allow it to be. Like if you just kind of go with the flow, like you don't kind of sit and say, "Oh, this is ridiculous," blah blah blah. It's like no, like David Lynch has a there's a purpose to everything that's done, whether it be to advance the narrative or just to kind of enhance the experience of what he is creating. And nothing is accidental. Nothing is like unintentional. Maybe it's unintentional when he was playing, kind of throwing elements together, and he got an effect that he didn't expect. But once he did that, like he chose very specific ones to put in very specific places, So it's what he does, and he did it well. Anyway, I got some more information, but really there's not much to talk about here. We'll see more unfold. We finally did get to see old Stu from Scream. I don't know what his character's name is in this, but he's the guy that was like writing the blog on alternate dimensions or whatever, and is the guy that is accused of killing the Major and the librarian that he was cheating with, whose head was found in the Major's body. We finally got a little bit more information about it. Now, a really important thing about that guy though is, now that we saw the last episode and we sort of understand these shadow men a little, if you remember, it was either the first or second episode when he was in prison, Stu was in prison, the camera panned right to the next cell, and then you saw one of these shadow men and he can just kind of disappear. And we were like, what is that? And ultimately we were like, who fucking knows? It's David Lynch. I don't know what it is, and I'll probably never know. But now we're getting an idea of maybe what it is. He said something about like there being a lot of people in the room where Briggs was, where he started to float and then his head disappeared. Maybe those people were the Shadow Men. I don't know. Maybe the Shadow Men were inside of him. Maybe they put something else inside of him that was like a Bob-like entity. Maybe there's more than one Bob type entity, because we saw that weird demon in the last episode eject a bunch of things, and in those things that were ejected was Bob, the Bob egg or whatever. But maybe there's like other eggs of other things out there, and maybe these Shadow Men were tasked with like placing them in the right people, or who knows? I don't know. This is fucking crazy, and I love it. So this was episode 9. We have apparently 18 episodes. So there's 18 of these episodes. So we have 9 more episodes, which is pretty cool. So we're halfway through. I'm really excited to see where it's going to go. This is like it's a captivating show. Like these days it's really easy for me to just kind of zone out while I'm watching something, unless it's like some of my top shit like Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, The Flash. I'll generally be fucking distracted by my phone or something when I'm watching anything, because I'm just it's not really surprising. I'm generally not going to need to have my complete attention on something because it's somewhat predictable. It's just kind of fun to have her on or whatever in the background, or maybe even just kind of zone in and out of. But with something like this, man, this is legitimately a an 18-hour movie made by David Lynch. Every moment is captivating to me. Like, I need to see everything. Everything is happening. Like, I want to watch. Like, what's going to happen next? I want to see how he's going to surprise me, the audience, maybe even himself, in the way that he went about making this 18-hour movie that it took him 10 months to make. I did a little research. Anyway, we're halfway through this 18-hour David Lynch movie. It's captivating. Every moment, I'm just like sucked in by it, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Like I said, I can't wait to see just beyond the filmic stuff, and as far as like the narrative expectations, like the meeting of the Coopers, like what's going to happen there, what is that going to lead to? Are we going to get more of the Bob backstory? Like that girl that had that weird creature crawl into her. Like what happened to her? How she related to Bob? Like what is going on? I can't wait to find all of this out. And I really hope that they continue with a season 4. I wonder if David Lynch would do it, given that he almost wound up walking away at one point in the middle of this. I mean, I'm sure there's got to be a positive reception to the show. Anyway, I hope there is, and I hope it continues to work. And I'm going to continue watching at least this season. I do hope there's more of this, because this is just too delicious for the world to stop providing us. Anyway, those are my thoughts on this episode. Every week I kind of contemplate, do I want to, like, I'm not going to make a video unless like I feel like inspired to do so. And like as soon as the episode starts rolling, like I start getting excited. Like moments excite me, and like it gets me into like this state of like enthusiasm where like I just have to turn the camera on and just kind of unload afterwards, because there's so much to unpack, and there's so many positive feelings associated with this, because again, this is not a television show. This is not a fucking television show. This is a work of art. This is a film. An actual film. It just happens to be 18 hours long, and we are all very privileged to be able to watch it. Anyway, thanks for checking out my channel. Thanks for checking out the video. If you like to keep up with my stuff, you can subscribe. I think it's down one of these places. Make sure you press the subscribe button. Keep up with my videos. And as always, I'd like to remind you that if you haven't already, you better put an X in that box, ladies and germs, because ain't nobody checking me. See you next time.